Welcome back. In this video, we're going to evaluate and really discuss how you can use Excel formulas to achieve some of the same things we did using the powerful pivot table function. Sometimes it makes more sense to build a formula into Excel than actually using a pivot table. If say you just want one cell value or something like that, you don't want to create an entire pivot table for it, or to cross reference. Sometimes I call this the more direct role. I just need this piece of data. I should just go and get that piece of data and don't need anything else. So rather than wasting time building pivot tables, a lot of analysts will just simply do a query using a formula mode. So the way to do this is, what I like to do first is name the ranges for simplicity. So we're going to cover naming ranges, SUMIF, COUNTIF, AVERAGEIF, and using formulas within these functions. I've listed the three across the top. The SUMIF formula in Excel is pretty powerful. The COUNTIF formula and the AVERAGEIF. So one sums if a condition is met, two just counts if a condition is met, and three creates an average if a condition is met. You'll see here I have the formula builder on the right so you can actually see how it's going to work. But you don't really have to use the formula on the right. You could just easily type in the formulas. A lot of times we'll just type them in because it's so much easier to do. But if you feel uncomfortable with that, you can feel more than happy to go ahead and use the formula builder. The challenge that you have is when you're building hundreds of formulas, you probably don't want to go through the formula builders. You just want to create the formula, write the formula, and copy and paste the formula. Let's go to our data set. You should be very familiar with this data set. First, we look at the data set. Rather than just write things like from cell, a range of cells, like you would go from D2 to D5, we like to name ranges. Like, what happens if I want the geography range? What I've done is I created a named range for geography. In this, you can see the whole geography column is actually highlighted. It's also sorted. I sorted the column before we started. The other thing I've done is I've named the entire data set as a data range. I've named the identity as an identity range. I've named the position as a position range. And I've named the role as a role range. I did this just to make things a little easier. I could have done it pretty easily. I could just hold the shift key, go down a couple. Then I like to scroll to the bottom of the data set. It's a little different on a Mac. On gender, and I could scroll to the bottom and hold the shift key, click there, maybe hold the down arrow key, go a couple more. You hold the shift key and point to a range, you can highlight the whole range. Then this one I believe is called gender, so we can just simply type gender, well, about the caps. Oh, it's Excel doing it. Let's put and hit enter, and you've named that range. So we've created a named range for gender. Now let's go back to our formula sheet. Now what we did here in the formula sheet, you see the formula builder functions over here. It tells you everything that's going to happen. We simply went in SUMIF geography meets the criteria of Australia, and if that's the case, sum the identity column. The SUMIF formula is a two-dimensional formula. There's a lot more complexity to be added to this. We're only showing you the basic elements of the calculation in this learning video. You could do nested if statements in here. You can do conditional, is it blank, is not blank, if it meets criteria 1 or 0. There's many things that you can do. But in this particular example, let's just keep it very simple and we'll walk through it. Here I illustrated a COUNTIF. I basically said COUNTIF the range geography. Count number of Australia is in this particular range. One dimensional, right? Inside the range of geography, count how many times the word Australia comes up. So that was pretty interesting. Then AVERAGEIF is two-dimensional for this geography range that we're very familiar with. We have Australia, and what you want you to do is average the identity column. See the average range? So we have range geography, criteria Australia, average the range identity. So I named identity range and created an average for that range. We did the same thing for role. We did the same thing for position. Now, we could have done this, just taking this information and copying and pasting the formulas from one section from above and below. Yeah, it does that sometimes. Look how it could paste twice. Let's see Excel in the video recorder meshing. Let's just take these, Command C, Enter, paste them down to the other motion. So Control or Command C will copy, Command V or Enter will paste. But we could also have done, instead of saying Australia, suppose we had multiple sections, we simply could have done the cell B7. It will be that. Control or Command C. Well, it gets quirky on my PC. And B8, voila, it works. But it also copied down from identity, which it should have been role, right? And this one should be position. It is. And this is 9. Now you have your formula. You see we did the entire thing function, not even using the function builder. You could have just easily have typed everything in the function builder, saw how it worked, and we're done with it that way. Oops. Undo. Done. It gives you the error. Sometimes it gets stuck. And if you undo it, it comes back. Long story short, you take the words and you insert formulas in them to make it what are called relative references. So it equals B7, it equals B8, equals B9, and we're able to do that. We could do the same thing with the count. Equals Australia, but we could, as you imagine, B7, and now the count is for the US. Now this matters because if you do every single row, and maybe you have a different geography in the row, you can do it there, or if you have a department in the row, you can do it there, and it adds a lot of functionality. Very powerful formulas. You just get the values you need, and it updates the graphs dynamically. And that's if you're creating graphics and visualizations, you can actually link it to these formulas, and it updates when your data updates. The other thing to think about this data set, now this is an interesting data set, but really this is an extract from a database table. And through Excel add-ins and capabilities, you can actually link directly from the ERP into Excel. This is important. While we're showing you an Excel table, this data really isn't Excel data. This data was created in a relational database and is pulling from Workday and other systems into one table, or it created a text file which we imported. But you could have just as easily updated this directly from a database. So these formulas work in that manner. So as we've shown you in this exercise, how to create a SUMIF, basically sum a range given a certain criteria, to count something within a range, and to average something, a criteria within, average something in a range giving a certain criteria. So the three functions are very powerful and can meet most of your data analysis needs in Excel. There are other ways to do this that we'll cover the course, how we actually go into the table or create tables and grab the data out using structured query language and things like that. But we wanted to get you grounded in how to write Excel formulas, particularly the more complex ones. And you can just get fancier from here and do amazing things. But we had to start someplace. Thank you. I hope this video was helpful.